I tried to identify who was shooting at us and couldn't. It sounded like a whole magazine of maybe 15 rounds were fired at us. And then the gunfire stopped. So I appreciate the opportunity to talk. I'm glad that you guys are interested in what took place, and I'm going to give you a kind of a quick overview of what happened that night, and then we'll take any questions. And so on that particular evening, Wednesday evening, a week ago, I was with the rest of the LMPD units who had been put in place in anticipation of protest and civil disobedience in the downtown Louisville area. There was a group of several hundred who had gathered at Jefferson Square Park, and then about 8 o'clock in the evening, started setting fires in the area of Jefferson Square. And so there was 4 or 5 fires that were actually set at the park. There was a fire that was set at the courthouse. As LMPD units and KSP units moved into the area, that group went south on 6th Street, set more fires in the area of 6th and Muhammad Ali, and then eventually got into the old Louisville area. As we were able to put the fires out, there was a call over the radio that some gunfire had occurred around College Street near Brook First in that area. And so the SRT group and myself deployed from 6th and Ali to Brook and Broadway. Actually, the truck I was on pulled up underneath the I-65 overpass on Broadway. The officers got off, got out, and we ran up to Brook and Broadway and started getting online. I moved into the front of the group. I turned my back to the crowd. There was maybe 200-300 right around College, Jacob, I think, the alleyway that runs behind the Taco Bell that goes all the way over to Brook Street and then further east. I was getting instructions to the group on how to get online, preparing to move. I'd given instructions to Lieutenant Vogt, and I said, hey, we need to move forward. There's some large fences around behind that Walgreens that has barbed wire around it. And there's large fences, chain link to our east. And we'd had some problems early on back in the end of May where people had actually got hurt climbing over those fences. And so we were trying to move up to make sure that we prevented any of that happening. And as the instructions to move were given, gunfire started. I heard the gunfire, immediately turned around to look for where the gunfire was coming from. I couldn't find it. I tried to identify who was shooting at us and couldn't. It sounded like a whole magazine of maybe 15 rounds were fired at us. And then the gunfire stopped. And so I never cleared my holster. I never drew my gun. I put my hood back, took my hand off my gun, and then realized that my hip was on fire and that I'd been shot. Looked down and saw the injury. Tried to walk back to cover back towards some of the concrete pillars underneath I-65, and took a little hiccup. Couldn't quite step all the way down, had a little jump. One of my SRT officers, Officer Brandon, fantastic cop, came over to me and she said, I think you've been shot. And I said, yes, I've been hit. She immediately started providing care for me. The other officers putting themselves and their life on the line came over and picked me up and got me out of there quickly to the ER, where the ER doctors were fantastic, taking immediate care for me. I actually have 3 holes in my body because the bullet fragmented off while it was in me. So I've got 1 entry wound and 2 exit wounds. And the doctors were phenomenal. The nurses were amazing, caring for me. And when I got to the hospital, that's when I found out that Officer Desroches had been injured as well. The care that they provided for him was out of this world. We have one of the best trauma centers here in Louisville, and they did a great job and continue to do so in caring for Officer Desroches. So that's basically the broad brush of what's going on. Monday, I was able to get returned to light duty. So I'm going to be behind the desk for a while, but hopefully everything goes the way it should, and I don't get any infections or anything. I'll make a full recovery. So with that, I'll take any questions you guys might have.